Good morning. I have a subscriber. I always said, if there's one person who is listening, then I'll carry on. Because if this changes one person's life, it can bring relief to one person, then it's worth it. And so here I am. I'm going to read you the opening chapter of the book that I'm writing. It's just short. And the opening chapter is called The Rug. The Rug. It's 2 a.m. and my daughter, aged 13, is refusing to sleep. She has tightly rolled herself inside the heavy Persian rug on her bedroom floor, angrily telling me over and over how she cannot do school anymore and how life is simply too hard. Feeling the exhaustion and despair of these seemingly constant nighttime battles, and knowing that I cannot reach her while she remains trapped inside the confines of her thick carpet, her story, I go to bed. In the morning, I find a note outside my door. It reads, "Mummy, I'm sorry I'm not getting this, but I am trying. I want to be in control of it. I had a very bad day today and I tried to do and think all those things. I understand them, but that is obviously not enough. I went to my art lesson and cried at the door, and the same with my maths lesson. I understand, but it's not working. I'm sorry for being angry, but I'm scared and feeling alone and trapped in this story." I read this note, and although no parent likes to see their child suffering in a dark place, I feel a flicker, a glimmer of hope. Her awareness is shifting. She has seen for herself that she is in fact trapped in a story, a very dark one full of anxiety and fear, but a story nonetheless. This is where the journey gets interesting for both of us. My daughter is now 20, loving life. Does she still get lost in her experience? Of course, don't we all? Is she defined by it? No. I have let her read the opening lines of my book. She laughs out loud at her old self. Did I really do that? Roll myself up in a carpet? I ask what she thinks of my sharing my journey. She smiles, does a handstand, and replies, "Actually, that's pretty cool, Mum." So there you go. She's really good at handstands. She's very strong. Anyway, what do I mean by being trapped in a story? I remember kind of describing this to a teenager once, and it's funny how we can so easily get lost in translation. It's like our words can be clumsy and we hear our own thinking. And when I kind of described this to her, she immediately heard that she was making it all up and that I was telling her she was lying and it wasn't real. And that's not what I meant. Because when we get lost inside our thinking, when we get lost inside our story, our identity, it is so real for us. I mean, there's no denying how real it is. It's like, for my daughter, it was 100% real. She lived it day in, day out. But it wasn't who she was. And the same for me, I lived it too. I got lost inside it. I got lost inside my fear, inside my panic. And I lived it. And it was heavy. And it's heavy for a reason. It's heavy because it's showing you, what you're doing. It's kind of trying to wake you up to what's going on. And it's funny because when the story starts to fall away, which it will, if you keep listening, it will. I've seen this in so many people. When the story starts to fall away, they say things like, Gary said to me, he said, "Kate, it's like coming out of a dark cave into the light." And Kelly said, she said, I have this knowing, but I can't describe it to other people. I can't put it into words, but I just know it's okay. And Jan, she said, "Kate, I've become like," she said two things that stuck with me. She said, "I've become like Teflon. It's like I'm no longer absorbing all my thoughts, all my everything that she used to get stuck in. She's no longer being defined by it, no longer absorbing all of it, no longer taking life so personally." And she also said, you know, it's like life has gone from being black and white to colour, which I loved. And, you know, if I talk about thought, you know, it's like, it can be kind of white noise to people. Like, yeah, you know, I know that. I know, you know, we think and intellectually we understand it. But when you feel the nature of this, when you start to feel, it's like what my daughter was saying. She was saying, like, I understand it all, but it doesn't make any difference, because understanding it is not the same as feeling it. Like feeling, you know, becoming really aware and conscious of what you're doing with your mind and seeing beyond it all. That is when everything changes. And when you start to feel this truth for yourself, it's like, if I describe to you now, you know, riding a roller coaster, and I could talk about, you know, that edging up the track and lurching off the edge, and, you know, you can go into your imagination and you can, if you allow yourself now, you can feel it. You can feel what it would be like to be on a roller coaster, and you know that's your thinking, you know that's your imagination, and you're really conscious of that. It's like, yeah, that's obvious. But what if you knew that you're doing it all the time? We're thinking and we're bringing our feelings alive, and then we're feeling them. Just like if you sit and feel what it's like to be on a roller coaster, you know, you can feel the sensations through your body, even though you're just sitting here and you're listening and you're not on a roller coaster. And yet we don't realize that we're doing that all the time. I remember I was with my daughter. We were in the Lake District, and she happened to say to me, she had a thought, and she said to me, you know, Mom, you know, this is all fine, but when we go home, I'm not going back to school. Nothing's changed, you know, everything's still the same, you know. And it's like this thought, it hung between us. It was just sitting there like a bubble, or like I don't know what you would describe it as, but it was just hanging there. If I'd seen the nature of thought and what we do and what we bring alive, I would have just let it float on by. And I would have said, yeah, well, you know, let's see what happens. Let's not go into the future right now. Just come back and let's just enjoy the moment. Let's be here and see. We don't know. But I didn't. See, I hadn't seen then what I see now. And I was mesmerized by every single thought that came my way. I had no awareness around what I was doing. Innocently, completely. I love that word, innocent, because we don't see it until we do. And then we're like, oh my God, why did no one tell me that? So anyway, there's a robin sitting outside my window. Come to join us. I saw, it's completely distracted me. I saw this thought hanging there. I'm not going to go back to, you know, nothing's changed, Mum. And I didn't let it float on by. I grabbed it. And I disappeared inside it. I went off into the future and I started to imagine, you know, going home and the endless battles and the not ever knowing where she was, and the constant sort of looks that I would get from other people and the teachers kind of telling me, you know, just get her to school, Kate, and me going, well, how do you think I'm going to do that? And all this, you know, I just vanished into the future. And then I went into the past and resisted, you know, life, because it felt hard and it felt difficult. And it was almost as though my daughter was there saying, where the hell did Mum go? Because 1 minute she was here with me in the car and now she's just vanished. And we lost all connection. We went from being like in this really light space to being in this heavy, it felt so different from being in the moment to being in my head, being in my imagination, not even realizing that I'd vanished. And so then we lost all connection. She resisted me not being present. She got angry with me and I got angry with her. You know, I thought it was coming from her. I thought, you're not trying. What do you do? Why are you saying? I just got all tangled up in it. And then she got more reactive, because it's not nice for someone else when you're not present, when you go off into your head and you get lost in the future or the past. Or anyway, the next day, she was in the car. She was in the car and she locked herself in and she wouldn't get out. And I mean, she won't mind me telling you this because, God, she was 13. She's not that person anymore. And we can laugh about it now. But in my head, I was like, I know what's going to happen. I know with certainty she's not going to get out of that car. The doors are locked. She's going to do this. And I know this with certainty. In my head, I'm creating the whole reality. And I'm living it. I'm living all of it, feeling it through my body. It's real. It's real what I'm creating. And then I look out the window, and where we're staying, she's wearing this climbing harness, and she's climbing up this tree. She's a really good climber. She loves climbing. I'll tell you more about that another time. And she's climbing this tree, and in that moment, I questioned everything. That was the moment that I got curious, and I saw something beyond what I thought. I began to question. I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't have to believe every thought that comes my way. Maybe I'm creating all of this, because what's playing out in my mind is not what's going on outside. It's not what's going on in reality. It was really funny. And that was the moment I got curious. The moment you get curious is the moment everything will start to shift. The moment you open the door and you allow this understanding to kind of creep in. And that is when you connect with something different, and you start to trust that feeling that will kind of grow within you. And I'm going to leave it there, but I have got so much to talk about. I'm really excited to share this with you. It's funny because Jan, someone who came on this journey, she said to me, in fact, I've written it down here. She said she had this pinned to her mirror for years, and she didn't see it until she started to become more aware. And then she said, well, I'll read it to you first. It's by Hafez. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but and it says, I wish I could show you, when you're lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. And she said, this has been pinned on my bathroom mirror, and I kind of haven't really felt the true meaning of it, but she said, today I'm owning it, and I'm claiming it as my own light. And I think, I can only, point towards this. You have to find it for yourself if you keep listening. And the light of your own being. You're more amazing than you think you are.